Have you ever noticed how some couples fall apart the moment they're not touching each other? Separate them for even two counts, and suddenly the timing goes, the energy stops, and the choreography starts looking like it's being remembered instead of danced. Today, we're talking about a question every competitive dancer should ask themselves. Can I dance my routines by myself, on my own, without relying on my partner? Interestingly, the couples who dance best together are the ones who don't rely on each other to make the dancing happen. Hey, it's your pal, the Dancing Housewife, and welcome to another episode of the Dancing Housewife podcast, where we talk about everything you ever wanted to know about the art, heart, sport, and science of ballroom dancing, but we're afraid to ask. Today's episode is about something the doc and I are working hard at improving: dancing independently of each other while we're dancing together. Seems counterintuitive, right? Well, it's actually one of the secrets to a great dance partnership, and once you understand it, it makes perfect sense. Let's get into it. Have you ever seen couples who can only execute certain parts of their routines when they are physically connected to each other? Take the connection away, and suddenly things get uncertain, get dicey. The timing slips, the movement loses confidence, and both dancers start looking at each other like, wait, what comes next? That's a problem. Because in competitive ballroom dancing, you shouldn't need your partner to tell you how to dance your own part. One of the great paradoxes of ballroom dancing is this: the better each partner can dance on his or her own, the better the partnership actually becomes. Now, that might sound counterintuitive. I mentioned that before. After all, ballroom dancing is a partner dance, right? But here's the reality. If both dancers are constantly waiting or relying on the other person to create the movement, the dancing becomes hesitant, even stagnant. Instead of flowing with the music, it becomes a negotiation. Instead of moving confidently, both dancers start thinking, are they going yet? Did they leave yet? Was that my cue? And suddenly, the dancing becomes reactive instead of expressive. But when both partners know their choreography, know their timing, know their directions, know their shapes and their musical intention independently, something magical happens. They don't wait for each other. They arrive together. There's another very practical reason why dancers need to be able to dance their routines independently. And that reason is simple. Mistakes happen. No matter how good you are, no matter how much you practice, something will eventually go wrong on the dance floor. Someone mistimes a step, someone turns the wrong direction, someone starts a figure a little too early or a little too late. You might even forget choreography for a split second. It happens to everyone. The real question is not whether mistakes happen, but how couples recover from them. And this is where being able to fully dance your routines independently of one another becomes incredibly important. When two dancers are overly dependent on each other to execute the choreography, one mistake can derail the entire routine. If one partner gets off timing, the other partner immediately freezes. If one person hesitates, the other person hesitates as well. Suddenly, both dancers are looking at each other trying to figure out what went wrong instead of continuing to dance. But when each partner is confidently dancing their own part, something very different happens. A small mistake becomes much easier to absorb and correct. Instead of collapsing the entire partnership, the dancers simply reconnect with the music and continue moving. The routine re-stabilizes almost instantly. Think of it like two experienced drivers merging into traffic. They're aware of each other, but they're not dependent on each other to steer their cars. Each driver controls their own vehicle. That independence actually makes the interaction safer and smoother. The same principle applies to ballroom dancing. When both dancers know their movement, their timing, their directions, and their musical phrasing, they can adjust in real time. One small correction, and the partnership is right back on track. In fact, if you watch high-level couples closely, you'll notice something interesting. They make mistakes too. You just rarely notice them because they recover so quickly that the audience never sees the disruption. That kind of resilience in a partnership only happens when both dancers are fully responsible for their own dancing. Ballroom dancers in great partnerships are not primarily responding to each other. They're responding to the music, the tempo, the phrasing, the emotion of the song. Both dancers are being pulled forward by the same musical force. Think of it like two musicians playing in the same orchestra. The violin section isn't waiting for the cellos to tell them when to play. Everyone is responding to the same conductor and the same score. In ballroom dancing, the music is the conductor. When both dancers are driven by the music, not each other, their movement naturally synchronizes. not because they're watching each other, but because they're both listening to and feeling the same music. This brings us to one of the most misunderstood concepts in ballroom dancing: lead and follow. Many dancers think lead and follow means the leader tells the follower what to do and the follower waits to be told. But that's not really how great ballroom dancing works. Lead and follow is not command and obedience, it's invitation and response. A lead is simply an invitation to move somewhere, not a demand, not physically forcing someone to do something. And the follower is not waiting to be made to move. A skilled follower is already dancing, already moving with the music, and the lead simply shapes where that movement goes. Both dancers are active participants in lead follow, not one person dancing and the other person being moved around. And here's another idea that surprises a lot of dancers. The gentleman, who is usually the leader, is not always the one initiating the action. In many movements, the dancer in front of the movement actually creates the energy. For example, in turning figures or traveling movements, the follower, a lady in most cases, is often physically in front of the motion. That means she may be the one generating the forward energy of the movement while the leader organizes the pathway and timing. This is why the best couples don't look like one person dragging the other around the floor. They look like two powerful dancers moving as one unit, because both are fully responsible for their own movement. Now let's talk about something dancers feel but don't always fully understand: connection. Many people think connection comes from hands or arms or simply holding the frame, but those things are only the surface. Real connection comes from the center. Both dancers are moving from their centers, their spines, their core, the axis of the body. When each dancer connects their spine to their arms, the frame becomes alive, not rigid, not decorative, it's functional. The arms become a continuation of the body's movement. It's a fundamental principle of movement. So when one dancer moves from their center, that information travels through the arms and into the partner's body. Not because someone is pulling or pushing, but because both dancers are structurally connected through their own movement. That's what creates the feeling of true partnership. Another key part of this is shaping. Each dancer is responsible for creating their own shape within the partnership and within their own frame. The leader doesn't put the follower into a shape. The follower isn't hanging on the leader for balance or direction. Each dancer is developing shape around their own center, around their own spine. When both dancers do this well, the frame becomes expressive and alive, and that's when the partnership begins to look effortless. This leads to something that many competitive dancers don't do nearly enough, and that's practice their routines alone. Ballroom dancers often think they can only practice effectively when both partners are present, but some of the most valuable training actually happens when you dance by yourself. When you practice alone, you can focus on your timing, your musical phrasing, your body mechanics, your shaping, your balance, your expression, and how you feel the music. You begin to understand your role in the choreography independently of your partner. And something interesting happens when both partners do this kind of training. When they come back together, the dancing becomes stronger, clearer, more confident, and more readable, because the partnership is now made of two complete dancers, not two people trying to figure out things together in real time. So here's a simple test for competitive dancers. Try dancing your routines all by yourself, on your own, no partner, just the music, and ask yourself, can I maintain the timing? Can I express the character of the dance? Can I commit fully to each figure, to each movement? If the answer is yes, then when you dance with your partner, the partnership becomes additive. Two strong dancers combining their movement. But if you cannot dance your routine confidently alone, then the partnership becomes dependent, and dependency rarely produces great dancing. Ultimately, the goal of ballroom partnership isn't for one person to carry the other. It's not for two dancers to cautiously wait on each other. The goal is something much more exciting. Two independent dancers, driven by the music, moving from their centers, connecting through their frames, and creating something together that neither one could produce alone. That's when ballroom dancing becomes what it's meant to be. Not just choreography, but conversation through movement. So the next time you practice, try this. Dance your routines alone, feel the timing, commit to the phrasing, create the shape from your own body. Then dance with your partner in parallel without touching. And finally, once you've done that, dance together. Because when both partners bring that level of ownership into the partnership, you don't have to wait for each other. You don't have to force anything. You simply meet in the music. And that's when dancing really comes alive. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, click like, drop a comment, share it with your partner or a dance buddy, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a ballroom tip. This is the Dancing Housewife signing off, and until next time, happy dancing!